Has everyone received the one he sent?
Give me 2 seconds to like unlock my computer.
Sure, no
and
problem.
stuff.
Team America.
Sorry, I need to figure out how to get on the Wi-Fi, but you can start. I will flow.
Valid.
Yeah,
Oh.
you're fine.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Advantage, what is economic stagnation? Inevitable recession proves rampant unemployment, saluting primates workers with labor force that guarantees belongs to exhaustion. 22 patent resource assessment being favorable labor is following workforce racial base more people excluding permanent labor markets workers not seeing wage increase, explain the climate participation structural shifts and not explain participation in fixed holders with rising countries with high participation more regulated markets and safety and social those shifts in education unlike the Americans of also leaving over those on wanting jobs and finding the levers spot conditions between very little effort workers one is social education hospital economy insufficient members in insufficient job responsibility labor case wage low increase workers of volunteer leave industry growth giving strength the jobs and wages sector stagnation is inevitable after the pandemic race how long greatly could be long lasting insufficient mandates economic stagnation the inevitable plans targeted job creation only with self-structural and proximate causes of climate stimulating consumer spending while avoiding inflation and pressures. Not just 22. Insufficient demand for the primary reason low growth, depends on demand more caused by slow investment on the demand side. This reduces incentive to investment and insufficient demand in labor utilization, waste stagnation, and quantity insufficient spending, quality situation rates are indicative of insufficient demand problems, not demographic low, robust or slow recovery, insufficient job creation, as well as stagnation, periodic revive, short burst, unsustainable asset price bubbles from bubbles, stagnation, recent expenses, recovery by participation rates, opportunity to raise and rate depressed by dynamic reason demand beyond the ability to generate output goes so key stagnation, inflation, ELR brings works labor force, without fueling inflation, the roads robust studies demand is the deciding factor in stagflation, and inflation concerns risk mark storm. 19 that wage growth is major determinant productivity rising. Wages cost incentive to invest in labor saving machinery productivity sources from labor low business has little incentive to invest more in modernizing growth. Falter sector stagnation distributors structural decline wages stagnant. Wage growth adds to demand shortage of large lower slow growth and total growth wage growth is less than expected growth goes up in response to increase in productivity demand and empirical level demand less stagnation historical analysis multiple set of evidence all pointing in the same direction. Demand is leading supply full employment and raise of productivity supply and demand overemphasizing human and entirely possible for demand growth and inflation. We need more real less price measures or more price and fees of stagnation. The price of stagnation remains normal. Sectoral stagnation which price accelerate collapses. U.S. primacy making nuclear war proliferate and overgame power common farmer life. And now number 21. U.S. power decline relative to double stage, starting no 79 populism by liberal institutions like stagnation, increased likelihood, liberal globalization, multiple international finder, our future world centered on period of advancing growth, increased spending, armor, wording, austerity, policy, soul, next recession, physical, national economic change, force rise, and national populism effect of lower, and growth, liberal orders, and words, say policies, politics, isolation, wanted leadership would be unavailable, institutional, with the underground to a slash respect from rivals, economies, incentivizing less investment, political effects, be dangerous, countries of independence, war with the Canadian, countries aggression, eroding to an with free Peninsula, Taiwan, multiple labor, sun, change, deflect uncertainty, and assumption of atmosphere, psychology, high defense, escalation, predator, war states, always on a worst case scenarios risk or unwritten weakness institution included in the company included in the actual company multiple areas like the super predators strong team worsen unpromising the number of down complicated on really means mostly for risk of the economy then hard to go to not given America's people produce multiple later in American capacity for jobs of stagnation and widening what costs of fruiting stress democratic system has lost its leadership the rebuttal in the US led order self-leading very lost 22 declining the order of defense to see the United States position deal over Russia and trying to luxury create those to the position of work to the possible privacy strategy for confrontation with US versus climate enemies of global living region over US leadership underpinned by or 75 years high competition make difficult cooperation make sure power wars and here within the Pacific Division to build the best interest of World War II US reduce over national boundaries is toward only plan stabilize the business cycle and avoids the negative economic effects of prompt priming at 19. JG works in automatic stabilizer, JG increase in employment stops or loss in the private sector and decrease in business and private sector expansion, JG rents and volunteer employment spending is possible more stable when someone gets a job, JG stimulates economic power recovery recession, JG creates a negative financial assets and government stability is more sustainable than private sector neighborhoods and volunteer unemployment, JG stability, JG offset a buffer, start JG adjust inflation and deflation or pressure above start fluctuations within the cycle where fixed wage and price anchor all the prices reflect the nominal value one anchor is missing the area of wages that you hide and job workers for the private sector leading one time increase however today's demand to economies first, harmful increase utilization of production facilities and prices prices, and non-increase other prices, and no mechanism that feeds the wage price for all the JG facilities workers in the private sector for those previously employed GD. Private sector training costs in the private sector non-employed production capabilities and the day to manage to receive production of inflation, change, rise of labor wage increase, and price of wage, price of average income, property, incorporated counter-inflationary, the mechanism, subnational actors, lack of fiscal capacity, ensure full employment, carbon 20. FGD neutral by the DL states and companies about responding to economic crisis states can have nothing like effect not print money states regulate reduce general capacity constrain powers of the BBAs minimizing what works in the federal employed for the federal government needs to provide jobs to avoid the position requirements of the federal government offer jobs and option. Therefore, the United States federal government should adopt the federal job guarantee managed to its workers. Two scenarios. First, unions that labor plan revitalizes them by providing structural leverage to workers. While 22 worker comparisons make little sense, which successful for predecessors were hardly work like games and nightmares, getting to the link of persisting better team provide structural leverage to workers. Have an extra option knowing walk up is option overall the arguments and guarantee mobilization capacity union as a possibility unions would have liked without assurance fears to alleviate the fears working class society the basic given weak the potential for of action only and next option stalls regulatory tweaks are insufficient hobbits. 23 union feature rich market make regulatory solutions takes division huge as workers bargaining power to granting an option to provide effective solutions regulatory is weakening regulatory sources of work to disempowerment regulatory solutions. You continue to be displaced from empowerment, being encountering an opportunity after the law seeking restart, of changing many things, drink the buyer power of local population without federal fallback. Programs that have a captive pool of workers. Biden will definitely push democratic norms globally, but beat domestic norms, ensures authoritarianism for us. Stores 23. Biden priorities illustrated shifting U.S. thinking toward organized labor democracy, union central democracy, union strong labor movements, by cost of subsidy, and how the right of chance in the middle of actions more commonly in Biden. A market of the state of every changes capacity for little chance of far waste of water, or is it just one democratic plan in the west of the U.S. 1 economic cloud, and the power to support works in the economic rights bills, next to communities around the world, emphasis on advancing democratic direction, democracy, class, and authoritarian regime, or exchanges, and clear soft power, evidence, much between workers and BR compared to the U.S. president with a lot of country democracy plugs, issues sector risk from launching the Mexican war, pandemic, climate change, and future sectors. 23. Totalitarian states teaching about doing less more likely eventual wars, massive having a problem to personalization, disincentive accurate, and make decision likely, and by reason the WD's totalitarians are less cooperative, transparency, limits agreements, pandemics, climate change, and quite offensive. They are about to be sure we can sort of like future of age based settlement of surveillance and origin powers to down here, or investigations of the less absorption of future structure and management potential. Second tier is the federal bureaucracy, withering state capacity, imperils critical federal functions, readiness, pandemic response, environmental regulation, and reserve army of the unemployed souls. 23. U.S. suffers from lack of state capacity, outsourced federal functions, leave ourselves vulnerable to threats like pandemics and war, unsuccessful to climate, federal level calamities, Iraq war, hurricane, extreme financial crisis, and completely clear what it once was, a federal never gets the federal bureaucracy in even 6 years, and also told about it, into urbanism again, knocking to build America, environmental regulation will be violated, other waiting for velocity bureaucrats, more government workers, and threatening America, economy, velocity, I don't know, hiding bureaucracy to protect the environment, and delays, not structuring non-profits, have agency, problem, non-profits, serve the government, law, incentives, to get a hard to get a right to government, election, control, founding of the states, the correlates and approach to the government, the models of Medicare, the recent wasting huge amounts of responsible monitoring bureaucrats, and CDC has absolutely no reason to world of war with China and Taiwan to be career, China's effective and massive production of advanced of disadvantage, not equivalent to fight bureaucracy, U.S. needs preparation of weapon bureaucracy, being of real bills, civil service, and fund guarantees, a formidable state, saves off the essential risk layer. 21, we live in a vulnerable world, disease, and risk of financial symptoms, citizens, climate change vulnerabilities, and every life that depends on the way to develop pandemic mitigate, vulnerabilities and issues by aid, emerging government laws in the future, and the risk of catastrophically disruptive disaster preparedness, audience of life health, and terror attacks preparedness, measures of stockpiling, less and less and around preparedness, able to develop preparedness for, unless the future catastrophes and potential, like current changes, climate change related to the transmission, and technically central to sustain life and administrative readiness to government operation, advice and rights of functional welfare, the economy and industrial powers of the MNSA, the perceived U.S. weakness means a global nuclear war, means 21, the world center mutual, goes to nuclear balance, a power to reach up to 5% of risk costs and not so high in 80 years, since the U.S. lack of capability to huge miscount China has been ability to nuclear stockpile, hypersonic weapons, skill, capacity, nuclear catastrophe, and something time to get an Armageddon, nuclear war can kill us all. The plan solves this is less necessary labor to critical federal function covered. 20, direct government hiring by federal agencies would be essential to broaden benefits of federal government as well established personnel system coverage, assures the fundable agency expanding system programs, competition and training, common with insurance of jobs, jobs are disease establishment, and monitor projects U.S. A federal agency, strong CD, FDA, fund, and so the boost of like capacity of the agency, we got federal like personnel, decision making agencies should rely on the lobbyist changing needs more secure public infrastructure, independent, and employs everything it gives in Friday, soft and need them to American convention about the country ready for the next pandemic. I have like 15 seconds left.
That's fine.
I'm good.
How's the plan funded?
Normal means is deficit spending.
And how much do you pay workers?
Normal means is $15 per hour.
Does that do you also pay benefits?
Subject.
Limited amount, yeah.
Is it adjusted to cost of living?
Likely, yes.
Yes. And adjusted to inflation?
No.
No.
We think we balance the inflationary cycles of the economy.
Does
So we don't.
the wage stay at $15?
Yes, like we think that the whole point of the Dantas card and the ENTS card, we think that they say we stabilize the inflationary cycles
Yeah,
of
but
economic
inflation
growth.
is inevitable. Like
We-
every year, the Fed has a target of.
That's the point of the
2.2%
app.
inflation.
That's like a status quo claim. We think
No,
that.
but inflation is good because otherwise you have deflation, which is bad. Like
Yeah,
the economy 101 is that there's always a little bit of inflation at first.
No, the
How do you solve it
Dantas
so
evidence
inflation
assumes
also-
deflation or inflation. It says the reason both happen is because of a buffer stock of unemployed people, which
Okay,
causes
but just
fiscal
to be
instability.
clear, $50 with benefits, cost of living adjusted, not adjusted to inflation.
That's correct.
Okay. What jobs do you create?
Well, of course, the second advantage talks about staffing the federal bureaucracy, which could include federal.
So you fill those first.
Sorry?
You fill those up first.
No, it would balance between that and manufacturing jobs.
Manufacturing jobs.
Yes.
What evidence says that the unemployed workers that the job guarantee targets could fill up the military or the EPA or these agencies that your cards are about?
Which card says that?
Yeah.
The Carpenter evidence talks about using direct government hiring
Yeah, it's
via
about-
job guarantee to staff these federal
Yeah, job
agencies.
guarantee. Where is it about a job guarantee? Like the-
Carpenter evidence is like a solvency advocate for the job guarantee, and it uses the phrase direct government hiring by federal agencies to like federal government having a personnel system in the CDC, FDA, and other agencies.
Yeah, but what evidence substantiates that these workers create, like the impact cards you read are about these regulators that are able to like,
Yes.
regulate environmental pollution from companies, or
Yes.
like individuals in the military that develop military technologies to single resolve. What evidence substantiates that they can fill these agency roles?
The Smith evidence talks about the vulnerability. It's like it makes a uniqueness claim that right now we're outsourcing our staffing to nonprofits and how that's failing. Therefore, combined with Carpenter evidence, which says that we can staff these via job guarantee, then I mean, NEPA
Yeah, Smith
and
says that the
CDC,
reason
all
why
things
these
are staffed.
agencies are failing is because of things like lawsuits and judicial review, where courts were in favor
Yeah.
No,
of companies
that's not
against
the
them.
reason.
Yeah,
The
it
reason
says
those
that.
things are issues is because of a lack of a coherent bureaucracy. The app fixed that by staffing.
I think that's an incorrect reading of your evidence. Let's talk about the secular stagnation scenario. What causes conflict? How does conflict start?
Collapse of unipolarity.
Okay, so it's about China.
China, North Korea, multiple. I mean, we think
How is
everywhere.
North Korea ever going to like challenge America's?
Because when America goes on decline, they rise to power, and conflict is inevitable.
Stagnation workers. Is everyone good?
Give me 1 second.
I'm good. Yep.
I'm good.
First off, is Ukraine decided Ukraine to pass this by the end of the year. No less yesterday, leaders were aiming to pass Ukrainian immigration by the end of the year, according to this. Multiple people involved in the Senate. There's room for bipartisan negotiation. Both sides care about improving aid to Ukraine. If Johnson can do spending bills past Ukraine with border security, that makes it difficult for senators to vote against it. Johnson expects the Senate to act first, and Speaker wants to resolve on Ukraine. Job guarantee ends GOP support. Palestine AT jobs guarantee support. Policy with critics of both sides respect from key concern. As logistics criticism for the cost will be implemented not without restructuring of the landscape. It requires steps to take the House and Senate. The GOP is not going to deliver. Funding Ukraine prevents U.S. Russian war. EU Plan 12 immediate assistance from cessation of U.S. involvement aid. As a powerful deterrent to future Russian aggression, victory can encourage Putin's territorial ambitions, leading him to target NATO that can lead to direct U.S.-Russian conflict. That would increase the possibility of broader war funding now as a strategic investment in ammunition is depleting, gaps in funding delay. Essential military supplies as Russia prepares winter offensive. Next off is recruitment design. Military hedge Germany's high now depend crushes at day 18, starving of recruits opposed military hedge. Federal jobs give strong unions make it harder to recruit. Combat military and employment related and high labor markets workers have more options. Although unemployment is low now, there will be gains, job guarantee, strong unions, drive wages, competitive with military, but enormous depth in army. Next off is the treaties Counterplan. The United States Senate should ratify Article 23 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The United States federal government should expand direct government hiring, pass protecting the right to organize, act in the public service, freedom to negotiate, act, fund active labor market policies that competes, fat no day, fiscal policy, fiscal taxes, spending policies determined by Congress that results in a job guarantee and solves union power. Costello 21 directive. The organization has instrument value CSR. Acknowledges work is essential. Article 23 the HR obliges states to safeguard its right to work. ICRs requiring states to secure and implement policies to promote access to labor, requiring states to guarantee access to employment. Solves union surplus. 23 policymakers regarding the labor law, workers and unions decrease, proactive strengthen workers' rights to form a union, guarantee for right to form a union, promoted representation and bargaining. AMLP solves better. Bruneg 18. Government funds AMLP to match people for job openings price. Free child care, dismissal, high employment, tax, and truly eliminate all unemployment. It's a semantic distinction that thousands of administrations will usefully employ random labor random such as skills and random durations. It's impossible. Top business geniuses will struggle to run. Next off is inflation is that. The latest consumer report changed everything. Inflation is down. We're 11-14 inflation honey. Backwards people and economics without rate hikes. Tuesday's table report on prices showed broad easing across goods. Prices rose 3.2 the smallest since June, excluding volatile. Food and energy core inflation 0.2. Economists track core prices, which provide a good sign of inflation future path. October's mountain for figures make the Fed the most likely next move to cut rates. Changing causes rampant inflation. Bruneg 18. Most advocacy is claimed that guarantee would employ large numbers without creating inflation and creating competition. Even private wages, the guarantee will function as a floor, increasing the bargaining position for private employees to attract employees offer a job at least as good as teaching leader workers out of private jobs. There's superior compensation with creating wage inflation in nurses, quit their jobs and work on CHU, upward wage pressure on nursing. Inflation escalates global hotspots, extinction, Chile, something high inflation due to chaotic economic disruptions, and inflation spikes Russia and China have weaknesses, and then models Russia dependent on exports. China's growth is staggering. West faces challenges including destabilizing investment populist parties shaken by pandemic, incursions and extreme events, reordering global alliances with various means inflation costs. There's no longer economics reflects complexity and interconnected world shifts in great power. Every next office and commissions campaign. The United States Federal Government to a non-partisan binding fiscal commission in the area of jobs abuse and to report recommending a job guarantee. The cabinet solves noise politics, read 11-13 bring together Republican stems, and also its experts backed by partisan solution, fast track to inaccurate, big person long-term focused parties, a bipartisan commission brought together to find challenge, big power, credibility, and encourage public support. Fair commissions have key proposals elected officials whose skin in the game will be considered credible. It helps work across the aisle out of can bring recommendations to the floor. Successful and use for narrow issues, genuine follow through can support bipartisan model which solves all existential threats. Yield and one subsidy battery should use for example because accidents must be another black authority and accomplish existential threats of pandemic, cyber, and everything by part work breath is best based on data rather than politics. Stagnation. One, the JT will be an impossible task and will exacerbate inefficiency. Early key finding work for tens of millions will be formidable. Finding political work catering to individual skills in a given locality in a timely manner will be staggeringly difficult, possible at all the cost of daunting. Designing staffing managing program of 17 million with the unknown number of administrators, managers, and employers would be the largest experiment in organizational efficiency in history. Two, Oppenheimer's writing about four forces, not just stagnation, and it's stumped by a laundry list of other factors like aging, but they can't even solve cycle stagnation. Oppenheimer thinks structural factors like accelerating technology and global population make slow growth impossible to overcome. Insert a reality. Three, cycle stagnation is totally misunderstood and inevitable due to demographics. It's harmless, could make into stagnation. Wrongly considered with stagnation, demography and population treating is less demand likely to intensify. 4, 08 and COVID and every other recession dumps workers. 1. Oppenheimer takes up the bureaucracy scenario. It's inevitable globally due to non-union causes. Instant reality. 2. No internal leak. Unions are not key. Other things like gerrymandering and voter suppression outweigh. 3. The only card that says unions is a rhetorical quote given in the media from the undersecretary of the DOL, not an actual prescriptive statement. Insert reality. 4. No internal leak to broad authoritarianism or take up from China's export model. Should become a certain which is normal giving emergence of authoritarian new tech feasible China can exploit the tech which fears authoritarian regimes, but the tech of this which is supplied by liberal Western countries, Sweden, Norway. Insert there's very similar ratio of cameras to Sweden and London compared with Beijing. 5. Not field is a laundry list. Absent a warranted existential scenario rejected. 6. Democratic peace is statistically disproven. It's conflict driving Chile 21. Democratic peace is characterized as law. At the same time, peace fostered no acts meaning that's variables directly related. If not, helping causes that may be undeserved majority and endogenous relations each remain fully uncertain and purely we adjust by applying IVA, having taken account of generality. Democracy will have a pacifying effect when show up democratic countries are more likely to attack and not public goods. Democracies are terrible, but especially in the US, United Kingdom, governments have been affected with majestic covenants, pollution, body, nuclear waste, product cyber and financial security, inequality, debt, migration, terrorism, citizens, appreciated poor performance, and dominated by questions, crowded around seekers, attachment, and unresponsive preferences, fair, the translated policies, for example, gun control, bureaucratic mythologies, decimate governance, get mere, the anti system creates serious challenges with bureaucracy policy, fairness, and issues, president execs, bureaucracy must operate despite some optimal outcomes, must rely on elected officials, and yes, reality to political coups, responsibilities is inherent, system progress, power via sub, and for those via some national means, bureaucracies really given sufficient power to effectively policy, entities make the different demands, add in interest groups, reduce contested implementation, elections to release policy motto principles means conflict was generated ambiguity, bureaucracy in response to all, in respect to thinly, bureaucracy do too much with too little, concedes all causes, civil service reforms has tons of issues. What is Smith 23? Doesn't mean bureaucrats, in Chinese civil service department, child maximum amount to spend increase budgets for policy and access to lines and also consultant to be the extension in New York's second avenue subway, California access to staff lack institutional high campus projects, no standardization, no extinction awards, and what do you say, collier, read an impact, and motor defects, no terminal, admin capacity behind 22, admin capacity war meaning obviously military, vast resources, capacity, no, you're from one task to another, the resolve impact, weakness is not about foreign policy coherence. We agree, danger, nice and growing perception of confidence combined with process weakening of the ICIA state defense crystallizing blankets, being Spanish in Geneva, colossal of Afghanistan, but John defining defense fully politicized companies at the danger of factors holding back having coherent US FOCO. US FOCO is also third command had 13 years, showing attack of funds was against Ukraine and China, the landscape will be more challenging. Gaza from back programming guidance in trade will be dominated by Asia. Gaza, cycle oxygen out effect, a regular strategy, no terminal.
But you read that already. Growth and inflation.
Inflation. Deficit spending kills the economy directly 20. Second, reduce growth, governments increase morality, risk of provinces to cover markets, races, retrace and catch up. Investments, innovation, factory, cycle, reduces growth naturalists, which have confidence restricts productivity growth and even further upstream consequences to everyone. Up to wage ladder, demand high payment on 19 increase in cost of enable lead high costs to consumers and upstream consequences of workers. 21 25 years, which must have stats. Peak within 14 is change related to migrant power. Continue marks scenario where wage pressure occur, wage person engages especially get higher payroll, inflationary pressures have less to do with the credit policies of tax and unions, rising healthcare costs, kill the economy, Stanford 18 healthcare spending will encourage budgets to businesses and households, rising costs will Jeff had a negative financial strain budget, and public budgets impact households and 80% in other sectors of temporary consumption costs will 70% output, ability to afford healthcare and dampen productivity.
We'll wait for those cards. Lisa.
Yeah.
I've not gone. Yeah, you're right. Got it. So, alright. You good?
Yes.
Alright. Treaties counterplan, does it provide a right to work?
Yes.
Why? How is it funded?
How is it funded? The Counterplan itself does not fund anything.
Like, how do you pay for
The
hiring?
Counterplan itself just ratifies the treaty.
Huh? How do you pay for direct government hiring? Another plank in your counterplan.
That pink is funded. Yeah, by deficit spending or whatever its normal means, like the same as the plan.
What's the net benefit?
Econ, this, that, and politics.
Econ, you read a link to deficit spending? Question mark?
Maybe, I guess that's true.
No, it's still not benefit because the link differential is really big. That
Okay.
spends a lot more.
Well, okay, what is the threshold? Like you've done direct government hiring versus job guarantee. You said one links, one doesn't.
The government hiring tank is just to solve the bureaucracy component of your advantage, which means that it hires way less than 5 million Americans, which is the number of unemployed Americans. It would probably be only like a few 100,000, which is far less than you're from it.
Okay.
Like the link differential is
5 million. Okay, that's fine.
It's like
Can you kick blanks?
5% of that. Yes.
And status of the all.
Status quo is logical.
Okay, this Fed no date card, is the counterplan does the counterplan use Congress at all?
It uses the Senate
Oh, okay. Then why is it competitive?
because fiscal policy must be the House and the Senate because the House is in charge of all spending and taxing.
Where do you think your card specifies that? It says must be done by Congress. Like, why is this not compete off normal means?
The Senate is not in charge of fiscal policy. If you have read the
Yes,
Constitution.
you read a card that Congress is in
revenue
charge.
and spending bills must originate in the House. That's just what the Constitution dictates.
Okay, then
Yeah,
why
we
doesn't
can
your
read
why
that
doesn't
line and
okay?
see.
Oh, I see. The Senate does treat. Okay, that makes sense. Deficit spending kills the economy card. The IRA. Why does that not thump?
Well, a lot of that was clawed back. Like it was an Inflation Reduction Act, so a lot of it was clawed back in with other measures that reduce the amount that the government have to deficit spend.
So like regardless of like the short-term influx of deficit spending, the long-term balance on the economy solved it? That's
No,
the argument.
that's not the argument. Specifically, we've also read recent uniqueness evidence that says that inflation is trending down now.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I'm asking why didn't the IRA, which are, I guess, maybe even not that, like the inflation was 9.1%, like in 2022. Why did that not cause the impact?
The impact we've read is about high sustained inflation.
Sustained inflation?
Yeah.
Okay. The commission's counterplan, why do you think it avoids politics?
Read evidence says that it breaks bipartisanship and it breaks partisan logjam. Says that it would bring bipartisan credibility and encourage public support for the counterplan.
Yep.
$202 used, so $758. It was 7. Stagnation. The workers again. Then Ukraine. Inflation. The treaties counterplan. The recruitment disad, and then commissions. I'll say that one more time. Stagnation, workers, Ukraine, inflation, treaties counterplan, recruitment, commissions. Peninsula? Adam?
Yes, job guarantees efficient. The carbon revenue to be administered by the Department of Labor. The most efficiently allocated to the most efficient functions. The Dantas evidence in the rate, the Dantas evidence and the ends evidence both say injecting more efficiency in the economy by injecting more aggregate demand. That's all. They say four forces. That's wrong. Oppenheimer says that secular stagnation increases the likelihood of those four forces. Then goes on to say later in the article that relative GDP is the strongest determinant of strength. No structural factors. Old age is solved by the fact that participation in the labor market for 55 and older is increasing now. All the other structural factors are solved by increasing aggregate demand by getting more people to rejoin the labor market. All people wrong. Demographics are also wrong. Those sections above. Oh, and COVID don't. They prove uniqueness because they were fiscal crises that battered it. But it's a question of being able to constantly recover from those. The inability of being able to reject capital into the economy makes it impossible for us to recover. All of those crises are uniqueness for us, workers. You decide never looks like it's question of an exit option. The more evidence is that that's keeping the law getting fired when the protest for better conditions, though. All classes unions, but the evidence is it's a critical internal to democracy writ large because labor movements are key. It's not a rhetorical quote. Later in the card, it says that studies prove that strong labor markets are key to democracy. No BRI thumbs that the raw evidence explicitly highlights BRI and says that increasing labor markets creates a contrast between difficult labor market conditions in the BRI and better ones in the U.S. that reinforces democratic legitimacy writ large. That the raw evidence, yes, Buffalo does say actually says that climate change and large-scale cooperation over every existential races can be solved by yes, democracy solving extinction. They're comparatively more peaceful, but also autocrats are more likely to cause war because of personalization, lack of information. Yes, public goods. The card is super vague, doesn't give any warrants, but the Buffalo evidence are better because of transparency and accountability, which causes them to more accurately depend on public goods. Bureaucracy term is wrong. I'll get it here first. It's about the status quo. Bureaucracy already exists, and the counter already exists. That's what that evidence assumes. It's just that it's about the reason bureaucracy fails because of nonprofits are being outsourced. They're less than efficient. They steal U.S.'s money. It's not even the status quo. Only allowing a more efficient one that's more coherently staffed can solve all of their impacts they list, but there's no terminal in the card either, or why it causes anything bad. No one causes either. Nonprofits are the reason that it's bad now because outsourcing only core government function solves the impact of Collier. It's wrong. It does say it's a single mutation from diseases, existential blackouts, or climate change, all class extinction. Yes, amnesty capacity is amnesty capacity is key. It might not be uniform, but basic staffing writ large is good. Ukraine. Border security agreement with means nothing that passes the Senate could ever pass the House, and the GOP will block distribution even if the bill passes sharp by law 1117. Schumer acknowledged the Ukraine package to border borders. Johnson is one of the backers for holding conservative many. Almost Ukraine caught this facility a few days overthrowing mere possible decision. Will play very flank. Not once inside distribution, the red line card border crosses will lead the welcome the uncertainty of the congressional movement. Everyone so far when they said those things do we shut down House will set a logical policymaker to do the plan and decide that produces logical base of what should happen in the form of education. But Johnson spent all his PC on CR and has none left now. Sorrow 1118 doesn't inherit the majority. It's recently going to give the McCarthy unable to stand this with the corporation shelving out parties as we abandon parties schedule Alex ahead everyone after the rest legislation Alex going to take Albert and the rules can put that hard right to Alex McCarthy will turn Johnson should be divided going to Bumpy Road up had no internal other measures were solved Nichols 10-15 Biden bending always says all that Capitol Hill officers they can generate from national to give me the 1 million rounds considering the single grant program and no internally created 8 now is not key there says Congress has appropriated hundreds of billions of in the past there's no uniqueness for it but the actual impact better the U.S. relative GDP strength is a better outcome of the terms because they won't invade because if your U.S. response that's on hammer teaching aggressors by Russia defeats a myth Wall 22 those were the case who aggressive be about the aggression not seen one of the lessons we're on the club there's going to teach more the war attitude with if you do about the lessons with discarding the scientific knowledge and new technology their strategy of it was like communication never understanding either can talk about themselves to humans from away the external to kill us while there's easy to dismiss their failure other countries will forget they not large of the calculations Russell will send this card out a lot of my guys will forget and compartmentalize, especially if bipartisanship is already guaranteed ever at 18. Commissioner of the local state, there's for more few days. Even though every time this is the person is already in the industry, the Congress, you can't keep going hyperactive mindset, clearly rate attention for about attention, control. Congress moved on before that. It was a plan of dreamers. Inflation. Inflation is out of control now, 11-12. For example, inflation records, inflation is normal, raised on inflation with 2% is 2% to the 26 one. Actually, could be away from the basic expectation of consumption, keeping up with the rate of raise, absolutely active. Service one of those closely watched where inflation is sufficient is insufficient to bring inflation down the status quo, and there's no impact for the econ. Decide COVID 08 take out their impact, but not ours. It's about long-term collapse, it's about short-term recessions and global cuts. Global recessions that should have all triggered their impacts, but 40-year high uniqueness, thumbs impacting thanks to any impact uniqueness for inflation. But I'll get the links here. Crowd link is wrong. Turn the plane increase the practice their jobs by working transition. That's the answer evidence and no impact to the crowd link. A macroeconomic time the crowding out the private sector is relevant. And it's controlling factor for growth slips the supply one affects stagnation that's not just a storm. And B productivity wage increase the waste of productivity loading the impact of crowd that storm. Insert of reference C productivity no evidence private sector is more productive. Gerson 18 productivity more issues than politics and represent the ability to impact what is the less visible for the purpose of place for the position movement organization electronics government workers are productive. Inflation link is wrong. Getting here turn the plan for all inflationary and deflationary cycle of getting a price anchor. The evidence is less than current volatile neither approaches. That's and risk of a link for the inflation and inflation link. A macroeconomic strive for above right a demand deficit now means it's only race we catch up to supply that disproves of raising prices. Individual increased utilization of existing production facilities, not check our prices. That's ends. And prefer our evidence. There are evidence changing the vacuum, not real macroeconomic results. Wage increases will increase productivity and prevent inflation while increasing overall growth. That's a storm. That's a storm evidence. And two, training the DG lowers hiring costs for the private sector on companies that increase production to match demand. That's the answer evidence. And C fixed waves avoids price spiral. That's the answer evidence. And one-time jumps not inflation 18. Inflation direction $50 more design inflation modified inflation impact the program. And the spending link is wrong first. A employment is already paid for, and the plan to raise additional tax revenue. As much rates of programs that we all include, and I'm reduction of poverty and indemnity crime incarceration. Regardless, already paid for. Something that's paying would decline tax revenue would rise. That's rated T and B bureaucracy and plan reinvest in it, saving the money, tons of money, saving the government tons of money from outsourcing, and there's no unions forward, pass spending bills dump, the unions link. It's wrong. A price anchor means that the workers cannot protest for any better pay. It's already set at $15, which is sufficient to solve the impacts of price anchor is unchanging. So it is unchanging treaties. One party boasts is linked to decide two from the counterplan ratifying is functionally guaranteeing a job. If it's not, it's also nothing. Should look at the future brand name. Should look at the future brand possible future brands. Fiscally, should the taxes transfers are both comes with the aid. Issue to the tax transfer both taxes regular issue to divide taxation. Benefits are the key. Only equality condos of voter first is fairness. Can't be against every best idea ever imagined. Two stricters keep any application. They're incentive disincentivizing kick off case. And additional saucing kick up terms of theory. Three is plank one gets watered down if all this thing is true. Second action cannot ensure house compliance. Four second plank fails. Private job creation fails. 18. Even if first include a great job, it would be able to maintain products and all these things low policy, community, and full point out inflation, financial stability, and the stop go, this is real money, and they can't solve down to that low wage, is the largest impediment to higher LPRs and labor protection, and fail only GG solve half as 23. Even where energy to realize subsidy with highway still bought arbitrary to protect to invite for capital flight companies and discourse for hiring federal savings only just as to do the organization will compliance with that challenging discretionary teaching regarding the employer on the side hiring outside area in terms of the compliance. Pro Act fails, AFP31. Proactive disaster preparation for eliminating any contract for millions. Classifying but social medicine the case country being flexible work arrangements. Some like some looking for elsewhere. 5 can not solve any of the bureaucracy advantages about federal jobs. Can solve that benefit. 8 politics still the question of the state. MBE the more the counterplan solves employment, the more links to the DA and deficit spending links to cross-sex recruitment. One, the D is a logical unemployment behind that disproves people joining the military. 2, no link is explicitly denied model 3022. Like you industrial leading construction, military housing, strong market leading factors and tables, deep potential economic discriminable concept, economic concept, the bad industry, and affiliate, and health insurance and pragmatic, economic sources, the practical employment is Harvard, with 33 factors, community, and more the hard as a new problem, low pay, leadership, and military benefits, all our challenges, and recruitment is collapsing now. 10 2, the military air force, way more than they were recruitment goes with passing over, progresses in 9 proving politically improving because we retreat to we solve internal battles, better it's about U.S. strength equations. 1, no internal A, no spillover. 1, instance cannot solve for the commissions. 2, no impact commissions to fail. Club 18. Instruction of politics that every blue company taking so you solve qualities of the building. The group of one was the company do not mean enough of victory. Appeasement just like one is the institute is very much a practice of good policy and then no quality controls and markers ignore the conclusions. 2, permanent counterplans way the gun. 3, counterplan the plan and 4, permanent the app and counterplan other guarantee. Should not require should is not immediate cost by the brown evidence from above. They have to pass predictability for anything else. They can't solve the apps about certainty of federal bureaucracy. They can't solve that. Also, any decline in U.S. power causes abstraction immediately strike us as the means evidence. Certainty is key, and 6 will be both solves the internal.
The bureaucracy advantage, how do you get people off the streets to work for the FBI, the CIA, and other high-ranking jobs?
That's not what this scenario is about. It's about military manufacturing along with a variety of other agencies within the government. Just to be clear, we don't directly staff the military. Military technology would enhance the military's overall ability.
So
we're not like staffing the CIA and the FBI.
You find like random people off the streets to design military technology?
No, we don't. There would be a training phase in a few months which would solve. A lot of the jobs that Smith actually talks about would require a lot of training.
You can build better bombs and build like a new F-16.
No, they're not like literally building it. The designs are done by someone else. Assembly lines make it easy. There's a low barrier.
Wait, so then what is the purpose of these new jobs if there's already an assembly line making these machines?
Well, the issue is that there's no staffing now. The AF resolves that by allowing a public job to do those things.
Right, there's no staffing for an assembly line. Why do assembly lines
There's
staffing?
I mean, aside from the fact that it's descriptively true, the Smith evidence says the government is outsourcing everything to nonprofits who are more inefficient and take the government's money. They're not committed to solving the task. The Smith evidence goes on to say that that's the primary reason the bureaucracy is
secular
failing now.
stagnation advantage. Where have you read evidence that says the United States relative to other countries is declining faster?
Oppenheimer. It says relative GDP.
And that's at the start of COVID. It's not assumed that China's economy has
that's incorrect. It assumes those crises. It says they set the brink for fiscal crises.
Wait,
It's
that's
a battered U.S.
just
economy.
patently not true though. Like China's economy is growing slower.
That's
have you read?
incorrect. Once you read a card that's like China's economy is growing slower, we'll respond to that. That was not an argument in the one.
Okay, and is there any
Secondly,
other scenario
the
for how
Doxis
that
evidence
escalates?
assumes COVID. It's all post-COVID.
That's from 2022, which is also 2 years.
It assumes COVID. It says that caused low LFPRs, and we saw
Yeah. Which evidence says? I mean, is there any scenario other than U.S.-China one?
Well, it's the collapse of hedge broadly. Multipolarity means a variety of actors could try to take power.
Who?
China is one of them, Russia, North Korea.
Well, how would
Turkey
Russia?
really any power in the absence of U.S. unipolarity?
The argument is like North Korea would go to war with the United States.
No, that's not the argument. The argument is that a declining U.S. causes security umbrellas to collapse. States will try to seek out their own security because they're
Which
potentially
evidence says
insecure all the
demand
time.
is low now?
Sorry?
Which evidence says demand is low?
The Dantas evidence says declining
Is there any more
LPRs
recent
decrease
evidence
the
that says
ability. It's from 2022. It assumes past recessions and recessions that are happening now. It's efficient evidence.
Okay, one unique this evidence postdates that by more than maybe.
That doesn't matter. It assumes inflationary concerns and everything else you're going to mention in the blog.
It's also like a structural
problem with like
Yeah.
recovering from
Like you can point out
democracy-
ticky-tacky things, it's a long-term claim.
The democracy. Okay, so this impact is low. Thanks. The democracy
bigger than
scenario.
this.
How does union strength translate into switching autocracies back into democracies? How does it persuade?
That's not
Erdogan
necessarily
or
the impact. The
Orban?
impact is democracies are being threatened by the spread of autocracies. We don't think Russia and
Which
China
countries?
literally become democratic, but they can
Which
persuade
countries
other
are
countries to
threatened?
swap sides.
Which countries are threatened now, and why is unions key to those specific countries?
A lot of countries, the Flora evidence lists a lot in Eastern Europe and Africa.
And those who cause us these things. Actually, I'm difficult. I'll wait for Val. The 20 second.
I got it.
I'll wait for the back then. Where should I go from the rest of it?
Ban plan
Yeah.
over
They broke a new they had a number in the plan text, so we banned that number and we just increased it.
Wait.
And then we did
It was new like Social Security $400,000 payroll tax thing, so we just like
So we said $401.
yeah.
What the? Why would they put that in the bank?
I don't know.
They're pretty good easy answers though.
Yeah.
They did what?
they
Pretty good
like
econ.
good econ answers. So,
Yeah, ban.
Oh, I saw the docs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you did the plan by.
We did the plan.
just increased
one
it
Yeah,
by
dollar.
that's so smart. Should I go look for that?
Jolly last round.
Huh?
Jolly last round. Oh,
Same
same
one,
one.
Wait, didn't Elon used to be replying to my messages?
Probably back in the day.
Yeah, there's a chance. Not anymore though.
Is the color shirt still the requirement?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Not everyone follows it though.
Leave some rebels.
Leave some rebels.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that, I just had to place lunch orders.
Worries.
There's no restaurant for the patron judges.
Right.
Waiting.
Worries. Are you ready for an order? Treaties, missions, secular stagnation, and workers.
Trees, commissions, stagnation, workers.
Yeah. Is everyone good to go?
Permanent wealth leads to net benefit because it includes a parent permanent company as severance. Because the company picks out of the house, that's the Fed evidence. That's the Fed evidence. Should requires action be mandated even if uncertain power to do it should. Suggest encourage rather than mandatory with discrete no matter how phrased it instructs. Fiscal redistribution means all of Congress has Fed evidence. The between evidence is unresponsive, such as must be taxes and transfers, but spending bills must originate in the House Constitution annotated. All bills for revenue originate in the House. They say conditionality, it's good. We get whatever we do. First, negative flexibility. Topics no longer have inherent controversies or team completion limited topic, but Counterplan has functional limits. Second, reasonability. The status quo should always be a logical option. Third, arbitrary and unpredictable rules are worse than no rules. Fourth, the diminishing marginal utility, advocacy peaks in value until there are strategic liabilities. Five, skewed contradiction, double T, this had speed behind the framework critique. Six, this bill sucks, it's uncondomed and negative economic reduction exclusive counterplans, and there's no community consensus and process counterplans added. Thanks for firms. They say Pink one doesn't solve, but they've dropped the Castillo evidence that says that the international law would have the force of domestic law and would require the House to follow on and to pass a piece of legislation that funds the job guarantee. They say job creation fails. They answered wrong Pink. Active labor market policies do not create more private sector jobs, but the Brunei evidence indicates that there's always more job openings than workers are willing to work for, and the only reason why demand is not sufficient now is because those workers are not being matched to the jobs, which the active labor market policies solve. They say labor protection solves, but this evidence is not specific enough to the Counterplan, and it leads more to the affirmative because it's about capital fight, which a job guarantee would increase more of. The Pro Act card is unresponsive because the card is too old. It's about the previous iteration of the bill that does not assume the new changes that will resolve the issues. They say this is not bureaucracy, but they dropped the point that the directly expense hiring to agencies no new one of our answers that eviscerates that scenario. This links to net benefit, but now the link is specific to a job guarantee. Commissions. Commissions are necessary to pass policies and to regulate pandemic cyber conflicts and all threats that the United States faces today. They've dropped the impact. They've also dropped that commissions are. They've also dropped the polarization. Turns the case. It means that the affirmative cannot solve because it means that they can never permanently solve administrative power, or they can never permanently solve secular stagnation. They also dropped the SEO to link to politics, and it does SEO to link to the economy because the commission recommends a better policies. They say that there's no spillover. Congress says yes, nonpartisan recommendation. Organize the support by creating a rally around the flag effect, increase public support, causes pressure for the follow-on, that's veto. They dropped follow-on and prove fiscal commission's failure results in eventual follow-on, that's veto. And they consider part of the content text that says it's binding. Any recommendation of the commission must be followed by the federal government by law. None of the evidence assumes a unanimous, non-partisan recommendation. How 11 commissions review deficiencies in ability to president for consensus on their own social polarization, partisanship, and parochial pressures. Commissions break direction, partition and pressure general without consensus. Use of the commissions overcome opposition and instances for an amount to harmony under the 9/11 because of the independent stature and unanimous blood reports enabling focus on national render. Parochial interest of the politicized environment allows consensus to ideological diversity when they issue unanimous reports and engage drop advocacy. They face some impression and officials to adopt recommendations, helping reform the political cred and dictate success. The next argument was that there was no impact. This was the answer above. The next argument was perm to the content, but that's severance versus textually. The content's ought to, not should. Textual competition is good. Let's see the good context writing and technical precision. Second function, the content does not mandate topical action. That's veto increases the mandate have for increased use of the action as a function rather than an objective sense of obligation increases on workwear as it's on to find the limits of the duty. Resolve requires certainty. Webster 21 and from decision should is mandatory and requires immediacy. Sawyer something only the common meaning of should is a mandatory obligation used to express expediency. Theoretically, they must have had certainty and immediacy, A, negative ground, allowing them to delay the penalties are all disad since they are dependent on time-sensitive uniqueness. B, app ground, only guaranteed action gets the app on rollback. Alternatives would instead of should. C, theory justifies using these definitions as a model for debate. 3, normal means that governs competition is based on literature, predictable for both sides, and fair. Fiscal conventions are not used now, which means that it will not be normal means as Rebuttal, and it will have minor modifications to the markup process, grounds for conventions bypass political oversight company, commercial markup, or oversight mandate. The company never free out Japan competition should solely involve mandates with routine. Every action has some kind of effect. But if it's going to create a wider effect, cause effect are applicable even because are infallible. They say permanently both, but that doesn't show the link to the external net benefit, and it also it doesn't solve the internal net benefit because of partisanship. Neil says the process is key. Congress and Marbury breaks the process and immediately sparks backlash, wrecking the commission's credibility. They say perm to content, then the app and answers to do both pie because the perm doesn't solve. And it's obviously intrinsic. It adds an delay neither in the plan nor the counterplan. They say perm other issues. There's no text inserted, which means it's fully intrinsic. Intrinsic is bad because it allows them to remove out of all of our disadvantages. They say certainty. This was the answer above. The commission will be secretive. They say time frame deficit. There's no time frame deficit because our cards indicate it will be fast within a month. They say perm to both. This was the answer above. Secularization. Administration of a job guarantee is impossible. There are 17 million people from across the country with different skills and education who would demand jobs. Government administration would be inefficient, fail to report barriers and corruption. That's Earl. The 20C proves the argument because it just asserts that the Department of Labor can solve, but that's one agency with very few people that cannot adequate jobs across all of the United States. They also do not solve secular stagnation in the long run because 2% inflation is a fact of life. That's what the Federal Reserve always aims for, which means that holding the wage at $15 constant fails. Jobs must be low skill, Bruneck 18. Social beneficial claims seem impossible. It seems impossible to have a problem with absorbed workers, downturns, and signs of low value, low capital, low skill, make workshops even practically resistance, not very sexy, who saturates in a way that creates interference. Extend that secular stagnation is inevitable and harmless. The slow growth the Act talks about is purely about elderly people having less production and demand that's pregnant. The 20C just asserts that people above 55 would rejoin the economy, but that does not make sense because just because there's a job guarantee does not mean that the elderly come back to the economy. Solvency is zero. Oppenheimer thinks population, demographics, other countries, immigration are all causes, and if you actually list these as separate causes other than secular stagnation, it does not conclude that secular stagnation causes these things, but are alternative factors that cause economic collapse. The secular stagnation thesis is dead wrong. Record 23. U.S. has now experienced capital find no major increase in capital output ratio, rate 6% here is the capital flat, focus on growth, not net savings growth rate isn't. Rate the net savings rate dropped to 10 points, gross savings only 2, explain by shifting capital towards assets with higher rates of depreciation, treasury still. Savings assets risk means supported, explain low yields, can for returns to capital from treasury yields. Corporate profitability kind of average return in decades, how the secular stagnation, proposition growth slow data, zero risk U.S. GDP advancing, smooth, nothing in decline, not suffering from secular stagnation, use capital output ratio is not high down in the U.S. low growth, slowed any decrease in wealth and capital relative to income has not occurred. They say relative decline, but China can never surpass the United States. Newman 8. For the only companies, China is a company that overtake the United States that they may never come such as coming to scale well before some of our status better now. Let's China. To expand in the 90s, China may never win advanced economies. China faces structures including including the tiny population. China relied on that real estate which has been producing allowance to something like the limit bodies improvement and improvement as high as 46. Recent efforts of federal investors trigger sell-offs that slow down will be chronic workers. Extend that unions are not key. Zero evidence is comparative or suggests that other countries' perceptions of U.S. democracy are solely tied to unions. This is especially true given the absence of linking unions themselves. Small, even if an FTG boosts unions in the long term, that does not create the translation of rhetoric into action that Thoreau describes, especially because Thoreau does not even explain why it's union-powered solves democracy, just asserts that from one secretary of Biden's administration. They've also dropped the Oppenheimer evidence that says that global populism make the kind of democracy inevitable, and obviously union power within America does not solve that. The second is that the only internally premise on worker welfare is the Chinese economic model. He's already expanded the BRI, so it's done. But countries rejected it for other reasons unrelated to U.S. worker rights credibility. They say that the perception of economic viability is reasons why countries like Sweden and Israel considered it, but did not adopt it. That's the Ortega evidence. The bureaucracy scenario sucks versus political pathologies. So challenges make suboptimal outcomes inevitable. Politicization requires bureaucratic acquiescence so that officials such as the executive legislative branch, which Japan does not solve because it just increases hiring, especially because the Smith evidence goes that way.
You good?
Yeah.
I want to talk about these commissions. Who is on them?
It's a nonpartisan commission.
So citizens?
No, it's experts.
Experts in what category? Just like anything?
In the area of fiscal policies.
Are they vetted at all for their political beliefs?
Yeah, they will be nonpartisan.
What do you mean non-partisan? Like you asked them if they voted in an election? Like what do you mean non-partisan?
Well, there are nonpartisan committees, there are nonpartisan think tanks, like the GAO. These people are not, like there's a process for this to happen.
Okay, so people from accountability offices, other parts of the government, they're in this commission and they make the decisions, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I want to talk about the treaties counterplan. Just to be clear, you do a right to work, and that leads to a job guarantee.
Correct.
A new job guarantee.
It leads to a job. The right to work itself is not a job guarantee because we're just ratifying a treaty.
But it
the
does
result
lead
of
to
the
one.
like it leads to a job
Okay,
guarantee.
how is it funded?
Congress will fund it.
Okay,
That's
so
the
if funding bills have to originate in the House, like you said, how do you not look?
Because that happens after the.
What do you mean?
Congress.
Explain the sequencing.
Because the scenario is about short-term
Okay,
impact.
short term, but just to be clear, the functional effect, which is a job guarantee, requires funding that has to be initiated in the House.
Yes, but
Which is
that
what
happens
the
after.
politics is about.
That happens after, yes.
After what?
After the bill is passed already.
Why? If the job guarantee is implemented immediately, because this treaty literally demands it happens, how is it after?
But the House isn't going to get around to it.
Well, you just said that like it would functionally lead to it, so the bill would have to be introduced, correct?
Eventually, yeah.
What do you mean eventually? Is it true or not that this treaty physically compels a job guarantee?
It would.
Okay, so
But
why
not
would it not be
necessarily
immediate?
immediately.
It
Because,
compels
like-
it, but not immediately. But
Like
where's
there's
the
docket in
card
the
that
House,
says-
and no evidence you've read says
The
that
card you've
this
read
would
says it's
precede that.
legally required that it gets passed.
Yeah.
Why would that not mean this go immediately into the House?
Like, yeah, Congress. Well, no evidence substantiates that. There's
Your
a
own,
docket,
your own
the
card.
creators at the top
The
of
treaty
docket.
itself, just like the card says, is legally requiring a job guarantee.
Yeah, it is.
So why would it not be immediate?
Like no part of legally required implies immediacy.
Oh, okay, cool. I want to go to the workers' advantage. What is the argument with the BRI and China's model?
So your evidence is about how China is using the BRI to export authoritarianism, but our evidence says that there are non-union reasons or non-U.S. democracy reasons why they're rejecting that now.
Okay, the bureaucracy evidence you've read in the 1NC cites a lot of issues like a lack of funding. Our Smith evidence
No,
assumes that.
it's not about lack of funding. It's just about political capture.
Okay.
Regulations are struck down.
How
by
is
the
that?
courts,
How is that unique?
Or the agencies choose. Yeah, it's not an offensive.
Like the government's big
It's a
now.
reason why
It's
you
been
can't
big for
solve
a
that.
while.
Just
Why
because
is this not fun?
No, it's not offense. This is the reason you do not solve.
Okay, so it's like polarization makes the bureaucracy ineffective.
Not just polarization,
What
corporate
else?
capture, political pathologies, things like politicization, bureaucratic acquiescence, the corporations, judicial review. Ukraine inflation. Take a second. New orders, Ukraine recruitment, inflation. Alright. Is anyone not there?
Sorry, my Wi-Fi is pretty slow.
No worries.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Concede no impact and concede that aggressors cannot be taught a lesson, which means that deterrence fails. So the affirmative does not solve their deterrence impact. Concede that it's not unique. We're not going for it. Recruitment concede no uniqueness and there's no internal link. We're not going for it. Inflation. It's a reason they can't solve. Oh, they said no internal. Inflation outweighs triggers scarce resources that cause global effects. That's Julius Turns case. Inflation makes responses to climate change, disease, democracy, Russia, impossible. It turns bureaucracy, kills public and private sector, stunting marketing, increased government spending will pile up. Investment in infrastructure by both public and private sector. They say non-unique, and it's mellowing now. 1 CPI new report on Tuesday shows us at its lowest. 2 preferred core inflation. It's the most productive metric because volatile categories like food and oil will inevitably go down. 3 no hikes. The Fed says will cut rates in the next few months. 4 preferred. RF cites the Fed data based on consumer expectations, not actual economists or data. 5 data concedes Powell happy now in survey handling. 6, as expert consensus, economy is resilient. Upside 11, 6, inflation falling and output growing. Negative shows soft landing weaker. Stronger than expectations. PIEs better. Expectations unchanged. Resiliency of consumers. Surprise analysis from America. I get ING said data feed soft landing narrative. 7, predicts soft landing now. Goldman Sachs 11-14 economy to fight a recession. Fears of soft landing stronger than GDP growth. High rates growth from continuing global lower. Highness 50% probability recession. Inflation falling shopping from peak and began Spanish and rebalancing inventory library. Markets wage growth has fallen to sustainable places across PC. 2.4 GDP to go to 1.8 easily beating expectations. They say demand turn 1. Demand is structurally up. Their evidence is outdated. 2, turn. Too much demand is bad, which causes inflation, which is the link. 3, consumers. Their consumption is up now. The employer 11-17. Consumer income for 70% of years. They can't keep GDP strong. Healthy household finances, labor market, housing, wealth, consumers are planning to find economy avoid recession. Keep a focus on 4. Labor forcing job openings are increasing. 11-17. Healthy labor market driving forces behind spending growth more than 3 times the level needed to keep economy even. Job openings still elevated wages rates have outpaced inflation and impact on spending. Following growth in immigration, baby boomers that employment will persist. Household finances wealth grew by rate of home ownership rising. Stock market drive net worth. Caused by uniqueness to stagnation proves economy's resilient demand is high. They say supply group to private and public productivity turn 1. Unemployment is at an all-time low. You can't produce more supply when everyone's money employed. 2. Time frame link is faster than a link turn. JT takes years to set up their author rating. Given the size, it will take necessary inflation over several years. Inflation happens immediately when there increases in demand. Their author rate 20. JT can increase active demand, raising income consumption is leading inflation until the economy adopts. They do not create the right jobs. They create infrastructure and bureaucracy jobs. Those do not alleviate goods on supply chain issues. And also those jobs are not more efficient. Group 18. Process of the workers for most places, the most productive is weaker contribute overall economy. Industries become entirely nationalized, causes corruption, which are less productive. Over 18 product labor becomes a burden. Administration presents opportunity for corruption workers. Redirect and complex bureaucracies, but weaker productivity. They say that the healthcare link was dropped. No new answers. The job guarantee was spiked nursing costs because they will leave the nursing jobs for job guarantee. That was 1 and 2 brewed egg. Rising healthcare costs kills the economy and increases inequality, which independently straight turns the case, and it's an independent link that they have no game on. At Stanford, it's always everything because we have defense on their link turns, but they have none on this. No new answers. Independently, job guarantee triggers wage plus power price sets. Minimum wage at 15 plus benefits that causes workers to demand higher wages, which causes businesses raise prices, triggering inflation, and causes workers to demand higher wages again. A one-time jump still causes the impact. King 20, $15 per hour versus new minimum wage. There are 40 million workers earning less to private sector. Employees face wages does not come from slow effects of the economic changing. Private benefits and health insurance prevent workers from leaving a higher pay. Available rate and rates wage. Poor and price inflation workers who have access to rebates could be not be fired. Changing incentivize workers. Because inflation turns any positive economic impact of the app party 23. The reduce inflation by 0.1 policy in the industry to some decline more than 1% high inflation risk that takes higher monetary policy to pass through price shocks inflation normally levels. The output cost of inflation and policy is large above 6% in linearized auto and Pono implies increasing adverse trade-offs. The same as inflation price shocks have larger effects and more attention is needed, and monetary policies act vigorously counteract shocks. Those shocks will propagate. I realize I didn't answer the inflation link turn proper. They say counter-cyclical wage floor. That's wrong. In terms of price 21, the full employment counter-cyclical success rest on conditional must manage permanent inventory of jobs activities have little value. Be employment disguised the space of private sector minimum wage for an entire economy inflation and consequences and job losses are the parts of the economy. The group, the macroeconomics and the productivity growth stuff, this was answered above. The spending link, concede spending is stumped, this will offense concede. The defense of the unions link is uncarded, it prefers statistics. The Pinnacle evidence has increased bargaining power and unions are directly correlated with record inflation and that they will force higher wages, which causes the leak. Best studies prove it is not stabilized prices. Measure about the soft current consistent patterns of incentives which does stabilize education as exists. We have the same inflation. In effect, is zero as the nominal income increases with planners. Incentive is stimulated to starting in unchanged inflation rate plus incentive to increase taxes. And stabilizers cannot be designed ex ante such that inflation is perfectly adjusted. Mark the card out. Inflation stabilizers cannot be designed ex ante such that inflation is perfectly adjusted.
778.
Advantage 1, Advantage 2, Commissions, Counterplan, Treaties, Counterplan, Inflation.
Pass me this down.
Could you use the order again, Russell?
Sorry?
Could you use the order again?
Oh, yeah. Stagnation advantage, workers advantage, commissions counterplan, trees counterplan, inflation. Okay. Now we're good?
Secular stagnation causes teaching the administration impossible. Stuff is wrong. We have a training phase that costs, but that does not take a long time. Our brain corporate evidence both outlined that we can be able to get these sort of education and skills. The work is not complicated. If I can see that it's just like manufacturing supply line shops. It's not an industry to actually build like the weapons or design them. So it's not hard. The DOL is an agency capable of doing all this. That's a carbon evidence. And then we say that 2% inflation is a fact of life. That doesn't matter. The F solves that. It stabilizes these inflation recycles. That's the answer. And storm evidence. The Krugman stuff. The demographics are wrong. The Johnson's evidence is comparative. It says that those demographics don't assume that the prime age LPR is declining, which are just saying the Oppenheimer all causes. Oppenheimer says that the four forces shaped are shaped by secular stagnation. So it comes prior. Also, the Archer-Bond thesis wrong card. It's not about it's not about declining insufficient demand, which we've said is distinct. They say relative decline by China. China's growth is far outpacing the U.S. Joshi. 22 U.S. share of global GDP climate 50% faster than 4. CNG Chinese faster 3 times faster trends predicted Chinese dominance developed. Number of share of infrastructure developed in the gaming south of China. And the U.S. says a little show the works advantage union. I'm not going for the union scenario, but I'll concede that unions are inevitable and the job guarantee is not key. Takes out the econ to side because they read and they say unions inevitably drive the price of inflation, which means there's only a risk that the F stabilizes that inflation. They'll accept the bureaucracy scenario. It solves a multitude of existential risks in the U.S. power projection globally. That's why they keep to obviously and their defensive thing that is more descriptive to Smith evidence says we make it more efficient by hiring faster and not outsourcing nonprofits commissions. Functionally conceded the idea that the functionally intrinsic firm then do the applicant commission over another guarantee. It solves no reason doing it over HHG's key or apps. Here specific lien means other issues specifically solves in a benefit competition. Yes, no question based off the objective merits of the model. Concede textual competition is good from her to the counterplan. It's not fully intrinsic. Text was flashed. They just didn't decide to open my care package document. Are interpret textually and functionally competitive. Conceded no new answers. Text is the only objective for measure for competition. Function are indistinguishable, undefinable. Only text enable objectivity, key to predictability and fairness. Only and in key to germaneness and background. There interpretation, proliferates, infinite delay, control, conditions, counterplan, skills, half-ground, I would say ground, econ, politics, and they have to depend on orthodox economics. The only thing they have is the internal, which they solve because they didn't extend the politics to that.
Treaties specify issues on social security,
it could, the other guarantee could be social security, healthcare. That's specification that all they need. Treaties counterplan, it links to the net benefit that one is the evidence that a treaty legally requires a job guarantee. The plank is binding, which means it de facto creates a job guarantee that has to get funding. They did not extend the politics to that, so you know that they're more, and then the more they solve unemployment, the more they link to the net benefit. But also, according to the counterplan, ratifying a treaty creates a binding job guarantee that should refer to the future. That's the Brown evidence that's better for debatability. As if sure does not, if sure does not refer to the future, they get infinite counterplans of delay, consulting conditions. Regardless, so it's good for debatability, but also their counterplan deletes. It's functionally delay counterplan, which is unfair to delete still see after all our offense. But if it's not, the 200 conceded the rare evidence the private sector can't maintain employment in the long term. That's cyclical and decreasing within a recession. That prevents aggregate demand to be reinvested back into the economy, so it can't solve they can't solve stagnation. The other plank the plank about the direct hiring doesn't matter because it's not hiring, it's not counter-cyclical hiring, which and they never have they articulated that it does. It's not in the text, so don't give it to them. Inflation to set. No terms case or the bureaucracy stuff is not about does not get crowded out or the U.S. power restrictions. It's not an old cause because we've wanted to stopping all agencies reverse causally solves their problems even if economic crises arise and administrative state of Seattle. They solve that. And then no time frame differential. When is the process clear? The impact threshold is sustained inflation, not a one-time jump, which means that the 200 is going to go for a lot of this time frame differential stuff. And it does not matter because if we win that you have stabilizes it because inflation won't be sustained. Inflation, but it's inflation aside, one Fed number is the way. above its way above the target will come down for at least the next 2 years. Two other causes like markups and energy shocks causes and wage-driven inflation is specifically wrong and self-fulfilling expectation. Inflation drives inflation. 1113 device above American top here covered expectation self-fulfilling American view. Inflation is long-term economic. That's likely to contribute over 3.2%. The high since 2011. Yes, there are evidence against two things because these Powell was happy doesn't matter. If Powell is happy, if inflation is still inflation is still going to go up. He's still going to have to raise more, but even that's going to solve because inflation is stubborn. Let's say the resiliency card only cites retail, not our card cites better stuff. Also, core CPIs excludes food and energy, so it's worse. They plan to solve inflationary cycles in place. The wage sets a price anchor being all of the prices reflect the nominal value relative to the wage sets and evidence preferred. None of their evidence assumes our current neighbor approach allows for inflation, but also no demand includes inflation. There's insufficient demand, not too much supply. The demand only causes inflation if it outstays the supply that's not to store. The demand now is irrelevant. We're making a structural claim about the economy's response. When we leave a recession, demand might be up or down now, but a structural wage stagnation makes jobless recoveries and lack of demand inevitable. And none of it stimulates private sector productivity by automating the private sector and increasing productivity because we invest in labor-saving machinery, which means supply increases. Demand for improvements productivity can force 20 demand shock for productivity cost of the labor incentive for new production.
Market incentive for new production.
923.
order is inflation, commissions, trees, and secular stagnation. Where do you want that to go? The healthcare linked trade turns to stagnation advantage, as well as the demand and productivity linked turns, has been dropped for every single speech. The linked turn is not about inflation, but about how the rising healthcare costs produced by the plan will turn growth in general. The internal link is nursing. The 1 Brunei evidence says, quote, nurses quit their jobs to work a job guarantee, and that this will put, quote, upward wage pressure on nursing. Staffing and personnel have an outsized influence in healthcare costs. Less supply causes skyrocketing prices and strains the healthcare industry. These costs will be passed on to consumers. Sanborn indicates Americans would have to dedicate a larger piece of their income to healthcare. This first turns demand into consumption. Sanborn says rising healthcare costs would drive consumer demand, which trade turns to lean turn. Second, turns stagnation. Sanborn says consumer spending is 70% of the U.S. GDP, and according to them, GDP is the key internal lead. Means more of the U.S. GDP is spent on pensions and healthcare, and less spent on military spending, which means it's a direct trade-off with the ability of America's economy to maintain hegemony, and the direct trade turn to the Oppenheimer evidence. There's less demand for goods outside the healthcare sector, which is what their link turn is about, is necessary to generate the kind of productivity for overall economic growth. This was dropped in every single speech. The link outweighs the case in the link turn. First, it was dropped, so it's 100%. Our evidence may not be perfect, but it was dropped in 2 speeches. Be tech over truth. Any reservations you have with the evidence or explanation was the burden of the app to identify in earlier speeches. This means any defense against the case where the link turn is reasonable and negative, because it's try or die negative, because you know that the affirmative consigns the economy to a certain death. Second is that it's immediate. They drop that the job guarantee immediately takes workers away from nurses, which means that while the positive benefits of job guarantee and producing automation in order to solve productivity are years down the road, which means that the time frame of the link outweighs. We're not going for inflation. The time frame of inflation outweighs because we're not going for that impact, but it proves that only we have a short-term access to an immediate decline that causes the immediate war with Russia and China. It turns the Oppenheimer stuff faster. Time frame matters because it controls the direction of Turn's case, and you also and you only die once, so you should try to live to fight for another day and intervening actors can solve for the impact down the road. But third, it's also structural. Prices will stay high because nurses will permanently stay in the job guarantee. They have not read evidence that the plan increases productivity in the healthcare sector, so they cannot lower healthcare prices, which means that there's no structural or short-term differentiation.
And so it means demand is structurally low.
And it means that demand is structurally low. This collapses U.S. relative economic growth. The demand collapse causes the United States to enter a recession. The GDP shrinks, directly translating into smaller military, and adversaries are more inclined to attack. Now, the uniqueness, there are 2 frames for this. First is that uniqueness is inherently probabilistic, but the link is 100%, which means that it controls the direction of uniqueness. None of the 2 EC 1-year evidence says that the economy is certainly going to collapse. It's not, it might. Second is recency. They've conceded that the new consumer price report brought new changes, where the Fed has new statements that says that inflation is fine now, and all of the evidence is pre that consumer report, which does not assume this. The CPI has dropped to 3.2%, which is below the expectations of the Fed. The Fed explicitly said that they do not need to increase rates now, and they said that the most likely course of action is actually to lower rates. This assumes all goods, so it's not about just the core CPI, and that does not apply. It also says that demand is high now. The evidence indicates that consumer spending is on an all-time high, that consumers are positive, and the demand across the board is high. The 1-year urban evidence is such instant rehardening. It says that consumer confidence does not matter in terms of inflation. It does not cause it inevitably. They dropped at the Fed that the rehardening of their 3C evidence that says that the Fed explicitly says that inflation is not too high now, and that the most likely next course of action is to lower it. They conceded a consensus of economists that says that the economy is doing well now, demand is high, and inflation is low, and they considered predictions that says that there's only a 15% chance of recession and an 85% chance we avert it, which means the plan can only make it worse. The demand link turns versus the content solves it. This will be later. Second is the link is faster and outweighs which is done above. Third is that there's no uniqueness for it because they do not have a card that says demand is low now in the short term. The productivity link turn first is that they conceded they create the wrong jobs, and that the plan takes too long. They create bureaucracy jobs, which does not increase productivity and the kind of supply necessary to alleviate inflation or to alleviate healthcare costs. Second is they conceded unemployment is on an all-time low, which means that you cannot increase productivity by hiring more people or to reduce supply. Third is that the app does not solve automation or the status quo does, because the evidence is about a lack of demand constantly, but they consider the demand is high now. Commission is considered for the test of competition, the treaties campaign. kick on the paints except for the paint to expand direct hiring. They dropped that definitively solves the bureaucracy scenario, no new answers. It does not lead to net benefit because we conceded that the plan would cost 5 million unemployed people to demand nursing jobs, while the Counterplan is much less, 100,000, which just scales less, no new to our answers. They conceded that definitively solves because we would just stop the bureaucracy more. Secular stagnation. None of the structural stuff matters because all of the snapshot stuff proves that there's only a chance that plan makes it worse, and that despite COVID and Ukraine, there's no structural decline.
220. Stagnation, treaties, inflation. I have the same. No new cards. Panel. Peninsula.
A long-term structural cause of secular stagnation outweighs small cuts in inflation being high or not. It's about the collapse of total primacy. The Oppenheimer evidence such structural factors going now declining. LPR rates make it impossible for aggregate demand to be reinvested back into the economy. That makes recessions terminally inevitable because we can never propel ourselves out of them by reinvesting more investment back into the economy. That collapses the entirety of primacy question of long-term structural strength. The Oppenheimer evidence is relative GDP growth is the strongest internal link to the collapse of Germany. Do you really care about a small-term risk of sustained inflation? Maybe sustained inflation. Maybe we just got off a 40-year high of inflation, or do you care about the long-term structural collapse of U.S. primacy? The answer is clear. They might have a time frame differential, but time frame only matters insofar as they're winning the impact. The impact to inflation being slightly more high is super relevant when we just got off. After high inflation, the status quo, the frame, the top of the 2 hour frame was completely wrong. Yes, they went for a healthcare link, but the terminal of that healthcare link was inflation. The 2 hour made it clear that the reason that healthcare is bad is not because healthcare itself causes the economy to collapse, but because when nurses quit, supply goes down, demand goes up, hence inflation collapses in the economy. They dropped our link to inflation. Means it's irrelevant if we drop the healthcare link because we covered the terminal and they dropped our answer to it, which was inflation. Treaties. Can't go over this for a few reasons. First, links to that benefit. If they're crazy enough, they're tiring to solve the stagnation advantage, then it certainly links to that benefit. It's linear. The more they say it solves, the more links to their own net benefit. It means that at the end of the day, it still cuts back. You can judge it further, but secondly, they drop the private sector volatility. The rate evidence is that private sector employment will always be countercyclical. Countercyclical means that because when the economy goes down, private sector firms have less money to employ people, so they'll fire them. That prevents excess demand from being reinvested back in the economy. That's key for propelling us out of recessions in the first place. The Dow Jones makes that clear. They dropped the rate evidence. We did not drop this plan. Direct hiring plans explicitly answer with private sector volatility and the fact that it is cyclical. They dropped that. Takes it out.
Inflation.
Time frame is a relevant indicator. Magnitude is the only thing that matters in your RFD. When it's in cross they especially care when they said that, quote, sustained inflation was their answer to the fact that we've already had a high inflation now, which is inconsistent with the top of the 2.5 rating, which was any risk of inflation might cause extinction. That's incoherent. We just got off a 40-year high, so if it really is any small cut in inflation causing more, then you know it's not unique because we've had high inflation. But the when it's in cross made it clear, and all their impact cards are about sustained inflation, maybe causing more through elevated geopolitical tensions. You know that the complete collapse of U.S. Germany is a much larger impact and controls theirs on a much larger scale. So whatever impact you think they have for inflation, we have a higher magnitude of it. I'll get the uniqueness here first. The federal inflation rates are up now in the status quo. CPI is irrelevant because the numbers they cite are core pricing, which is bad. Of course, CPI is a bad metric. Arbitrary excluding energy and food prices skews real inflation numbers. Maybe they fluctuate, but that's our point. The business cycle is fluctuating now too much, and shocks are inevitable, so inflation cannot go down. Expert consensus is wrong. They can see that the Absalom card they read only cites retail prices, which are evidence. Prices in more indicators: food, housing, rent, CPI data. We assume everything studies from one day are insufficient because, as I said before, even if they're winning, a small chance that inflation might be low now in the long term, it's going to be inevitable. But second, but the Irwin evidence that inflation is self-fulfilling. So even if there's a really, really small risk of inflation now, it is self-fulfilling. It will continue to grow because consumers are unaware when inflation starts happening. They start spending more, which further increases demand, causing inflation. Which turns over off into I'll send the inflation link to here for any. So the 2.5 dropped. So if you find the 2.5 link, explanation on the fact that we dropped it really compelling, that only means you should be convinced more because they dropped the terminal, which is inflation. The answer of interest, you can see this is that the job to provide a wage anchor replaces the NIGER approach, which is a non-accelerated inflation rate of unemployment created by a buffer shock of unemployed, which currently makes inflationary and deflationary pressures inevitable. Only the plan solves creating a wage anchor that is stable causes inflation to permanently go away. They dropped it, so even if you think it's silly, it is dropped. So it's true. Macroeconomics argument, they also see this is that demand on a larger scale matters more. This frames all the healthcare stuff they go for because the Johnson evidence is on a much larger scale. Maybe healthcare demand might be slightly higher in the world of the link, but it's irrelevant because Johnson evidence is citing aggregate studies on the fact that aggregate demand is low now. It is already low now. The status quo will continue to get lower because more people broadly are not joining the labor force market. Even if some healthcare people are going to leave, which might drive up prices, broadly every single market has decreasing labor, which frames your about this when a demand deficit. Now inflation can only happen if every single industry demand outpaces it, because we're in a demand-constrained economy now. Supply is up. Macroeconomics 101 says that inflation can only happen when demand outpaces supply, which is impossible when, writ large, we are in a demand deficit now. They can see that that's a storm. In 9 minutes, the warrants are here. The warrants are. Their consumer spending is more for us. We have more aggregate data. They're just about healthcare. The nurses could already answer that. About they say it's immediate. That's irrelevant. It comes back against your frame because it really is immediate. Then you have no break for inflation. We just got a super high period of inflation. So it's irrelevant. We control demand to a larger extent. The uniqueness debate they say it's controlled by the link. They certainly doesn't matter. But they conceded the link term, so it's irrelevant. Consumer prices. I already answered why consumer price report or consumer price report about the Irwin evidence is not saying that consumer confidence matters. It's not saying only 50% chance of recession. But even if it does, it's a question of the fact inflation. It says inflation is high, which is their internal link to this ad. They say we don't have a card saying demand is low. Now read the Down to 7, read the N 7 to the storm evidence. There are 3 excellent cards that will guide your ballot. All of them say it's not now bureaucracy jobs. We're not just bureaucracy. When I see crossing it clear, we also do manufacturing jobs, about many other things. So those who invest money back into the economy, even so, it's a question of demand. If more people spend more, demand goes up, which solves.
They went for the wrong link.